Hi everyone, and welcome to the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Elina, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Simple Knit Co. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to come and spend and talk about knitting with me. If you have watched the first couple of episodes of this podcast, welcome back. It's very nice to see you again. And if this is your first viewing, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the knitting that I have to show you. As I said last week, I'm currently in a slightly incapacitated state. I have a broken ankle and I had surgery on it, I think the day after I uploaded the last episode. So it's been almost 2 weeks, about a week and a half since I had that, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. I mean, anytime you have a general anaesthetic and anything that's kind of painful is always going to take a little while for you to adjust to being on all sorts of medication and things. But I'm finally, the last couple of days, I've really started to feel more like myself again. Like I want to get up and put makeup on and leave the house and things like that. So that's been good. I should go back to work next week, so I'll be back to being a slightly normal person again. But I did get quite a lot of knitting done, so luckily I have quite a few things to show you this week. So I'll just kick off with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my beach tank. I think I showed it in the first episode, yeah. So it's patterned by Jess Schreibstein for Mild Woman. It's just a simple tank top that I knit in the Wool and the Gang yarn Tina tape. That's 100% tencel. It's really nice. It's, as I'm gonna say for the next like 6 months, it's really hot. The last couple of days haven't been so bad, but earlier this week it was like mid-30s every day and super humid, which isn't great when you have a cast on, by the way. Terrible cast weather. But today's probably, feels like it's probably about high 20s, early 30s, so but it's still really humid. But this yarn is so light and breathable that even though it's kind of like a worsted weight yarn, you can wear it in quite hot and humid temperatures, which is nice when you're a knitter that lives somewhere that it's not very often knitwear weather. It's really good to be able to find yarns that actually work with the weather that you have. So yeah, I do have one finished object for you this week. I showed you, sorry I'm just reaching off screen, excuse me. I showed you the first one of these last episode. I'd finished the first one. I had just cast on the second one. And these were the project that I took to the hospital with me because anyone who's been in a hospital situation, you know there's a lot of waiting around. So let me just check. Yeah, here we go. So this is the Easy Feet socks by Jessica Gore of the Sweater Collective. And I knit these in Retrosaria Mondeem in the colour 204. So this is the second sock that I did, and I dug out my sock blockers so you can have a really good look at them. There we go. You can see that beautiful texture that plays really well with kind of the light striping detail of the yarn. And as I showed you on the first sock, around the gusset where the rows get longer, the colour kind of pooled on either side. So on this sock we have kind of like in the gusset section, there's like one side is blue and yellow and the other side is pink and purple. But on the second sock it kind of did it the opposite way around. So there's like, I'll take it off the blocker so you can see, it's kind of like underneath the foot is all pink and purple, and on the top here there's a little patch of the yellow and blue, which I don't really mind. Sorry, a bird just flew into a window downstairs. Which I don't really mind. I really am happy with these socks. Sorry. It's like a bird fight going on outside, which is kind of de rigueur of living around here. But I'm really happy with these. They're super cozy. The yarn is really lovely. It's 100% Portuguese wool. And yeah, they're really nice. So this second sock, I think last time I spoke to you, I'd kind of done a couple of pattern repeats at the top, but basically did the rest of this in the hospital and then once I came home, because for the first couple of days I really didn't feel like doing anything. But this was kind of a nice pattern, didn't have to think too much, and it's really nice to have them finished and off the needles. Yeah, there's not really much else for me to say other than I love these socks, love this pattern, love this yarn, all sorts of love hearts for that finished object. So now I have a couple of works in progress to share with you. There's a couple of projects that I kind of haven't really been working on very much, so I won't bother to show you. I mean, what's the point in looking at one row of a sock that I've done? That's not very interesting. The main projects that I've been working on have been a couple of garments, so I'm really happy to share those with you. Grab the first one. And this first one is an almost finished object. I mean, if I wasn't so sleepy all the time, it probably would be finished, but I'm super close. You might be able to tell just from that little pile. This is my lady slipper tank, which is a pattern by Fiona Alice from issue 16 of Amirisu magazine. And I have, just give me 1 second, I've finished the body and got the shoulders seamed together, and I've picked up the neckband stitches. As you can see, I've got a little needle hanging out here. I just have to finish off doing, I think it's like a garter stitch bind off or something around the neckline, but as you can see, it's a giant rectangle, so it's kind of hard to show you. And I can't really, I could probably put it on, but it looks a bit weird without the neckline done. So I have tried it on, and it's really cool. It looks really cool. So as you can see, we've got the front section here. It's completely open at the sides, so it's kind of like a poncho. A very sophisticated poncho. And then on the front we have these I-cord ties that go and tie around behind your back. And then there's the little lace panel that is open on the sides that you can thread some ribbon through or a belt, and that then secures the top at the front. So yeah, I finished, I think, I was just under halfway done with the back. So I actually have done a ton of, I feel like because I haven't made, like worked on a bunch of projects, I thought, oh, I didn't do as much knitting as I thought I would do in the last couple of weeks. But I was less than halfway done with the back piece of this. And now it is completely done, and it's a lot because it's just like a giant rectangle. It was basically just back and forth stockinette with a little edging. I'll just show you the edging as well. It's really pretty little, well, so many ends to weave in. It's really pretty little braid detail. And the yarn I used, as I have said, and I posted on Instagram again how much I love this yarn. It's from Fibersmith in Melbourne. It is their alpaca linen silk blend in the colour Haystack. It's a nice hand-dyed colour, and actually it can be quite hard to get the colour to kind of show up correctly, but it looks like it's actually pretty close. It's maybe slightly yellower than it's coming up on the screen at the moment, but oh yeah, it's a pretty good representation. It's kind of a, yeah, that kind of greeny, scummy yellow colour with some really nice dark speckles, and it's also got some kind of like little beigey sections as well that, yeah, just make it look really lovely. Almost like a camo effect, not quite, but as I was knitting it up, that's kind of what I thought of. It's almost like a camo print effect, which is really cool. The sample was in a really pretty pink colour, but I think doing it in this kind of more muted, slightly more, you know, this kind of colour just makes it, kind of plays off against the delicate nature of the garment really, really nicely. Obviously, because it's hand dyed, I alternated skeins, so there's about 10,000 ends to weave in, which is one of my least favourite parts, but I've done my 100% least favourite part of any garment, and that is picking up the neckline. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I actually feel like I did a pretty good job this time. I was really careful. I'd done like a slip stitch selvage along most of it so that it was a little bit easier to pick up. I was really careful because I I don't like picking up neckline stitches, and I feel like sometimes I just do a really crap job. But because this is quite a fine yarn, and because of the fiber content, it's not kind of thing that you can really block out if you do a really crap job. So I was really careful, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job. We'll see once I've actually knitted the neckband on. I did make a couple of little modifications. I added about overall, I knit the size medium, but I've added about 5 centimeters. So it's kind of the stitch count of the size medium, but the length of the size large, just because mainly on this front section, I wanted the neckline to be a little bit lower. You can't really tell because it's on a needle now, but in kind of once I'd done the neck decreases as I went up to the shoulder, that's where I added the length on the front, just to give it a little bit more, just a little bit less cropped. It's a really good length. When I tried it on, I was really happy with where it hit me. So yeah, really happy with that. It did mean that the back piece was even more tedious because I had knit 5 centimeters more than I would have, but in the end I'm really happy with how it's come out, so I'm really glad that I did that. And there was something else I modified. No idea. I feel like there was something else I did differently, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Hopefully by the time I finished it for next week I will have remembered what it is. But yeah, just have to do that neckband and then lots of weaving, and I'm done with that project, which I'm really happy about because it's so beautiful. I can't wait to wear it. Just pop that one away. The second project that I have been working on, not as much, but I've still made quite a bit of progress, excuse me. This is the Deauville Tank by Tina C from issue 25 of Pom Pom magazine, which is a stripes issue. And I'm about halfway up the body of this one. It's a little bit squished on the needles, but should be able to get a good idea. So it's this really cool stripe, and you can actually see quite well on camera the kind of the optical illusion that the pattern makes. It's still doing this little flip up thing at the bottom, which I'm just still gonna keep telling myself that that's because it's sitting on a short needle. And oh, there we go. See, look, it's fine there. Anyway, you can really see the little purl ridges create these vertical, this like optical illusion of a vertical stripe on the horizontal stripe, which is just so cool. It's really a really simple pattern, really mindless to knit, but you get such a cool effect. I love it. So I'm about halfway, just over halfway up the body. I'm knitting this one in the same yarn as the sample, which is Wool and the Gang's Shiny Happy Cotton, which is like a worsted weight cotton in the colours Cinder Black and Purple Haze. And these work really nicely together. It's one of those ones, it's like almost black and white but not quite, which I think also kind of adds to that cool optical illusion effect. Yeah, I've just kind of been, as I said, just knitting around and around, and then I'm pretty sure for this one, because it's just tank top, you actually don't pick up any stitches around the arms or around the neck. So kind of once you've done, once you've done the front and back and seamed it together, it's finished, which is what I love about knitting kind of tank toppy kind of things. Because as I said before, I hate picking up stitches. I hate neck bands the most, but picking up armhole stitches as well, not my favorite thing to do. So that's always kind of the part when I knit whenever I knit a jumper, they always in the pattern have you picking up the neckband very last. Like you kind of, usually in the instructions you'll have, especially for like jumpers in the round, you'll knit the body, then pick up the sleeves, knit the sleeves, then pick up the armband. I never do that. I always pick up the neckband before I do either of the arms, because otherwise I end up with a neckbandless sweater for about as long as I possibly can, because I absolutely hate it. So I just like to get it over and done with as quickly as possible. So any pattern that you don't have to pick up a neckband for, I'm going to want to knit it straight away. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, as far as I can remember, that's how it works with this one. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. Still doesn't really look like anything. Hopefully by next time it'll look slightly less like a scrunchy tube and more like a garment. But I'm really happy with that one as well. So the last project I have to show you today is actually a new cast on, which I'm very excited about. This is a project that I've been kind of mulling over, thinking about and wanting to knit for a few months now, and it's kind of the perfect time to do it. I'm really excited about it. So a few months ago, well, for a while really, I've been thinking I really want to knit something special to wear for Christmas. But obviously, given that I live in the southern hemisphere, a Christmas jumper isn't not really an option, unless I plan on locking myself in a room with the air conditioner blasting all day, which is not really the Christmas spirit, is it? So I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, and I've been thinking and thinking about it, and I finally just kind of bit the bullet, got the yarn that I needed, and started knitting it. And one of the other reasons that it's kind of taken me a while is that I knew what I wanted to do, but it's something that I had to actually like think about. So it's kind of a mishmash of a couple of patterns, which means that I had to do some maths and some swatching, which is not really my style. If I can get away without swatching, I usually will. Socks and hats, never, which is terrible. It's really bad, but I'm just I'm close enough. I don't really have that, like I don't have that kind of type A perfectionist personality. I probably would be better off to have a little bit more of that within myself, but I just don't have that need to make sure everything's perfect. I kind of just go for it, and if it isn't perfect, I can live with it. Just make do with what I do. That's definitely much more my personality type. But this time I really wanted to get it right, because I would be kind of drafting, mishmashing a pattern together. So the idea that I had, you may have seen quite a few people knit this last year. I think Christy Glass knit one, and Katie from the Inside Number 23 podcast knit one. It's an Andy Sutherland pattern called Yulgren, which is a really cute, like vintagey high-necked jumper with this with a Christmas tree kind of on the front, but it's done with kind of contrasting knit and purl stitches instead of with color work, so it's just kind of like an embossed effect of a Christmas tree on the front, and it's really, really cute. But I really thought it was really nice, but no way that I could ever wear it for Christmas here. But I thought to myself, I could transpose that onto a tank top, or like a linen top, that I could then wear, which is a very good idea. So then I had to kind of think about what yarn I wanted to use, and I knew I wanted like a linen or a linen blend. That's kind of the best, I think, for really nice airy drapey garments. Have a linen or like a linen cotton blend is the best. Cotton can be a little bit stiff on its own, and the linen kind of softens with wear more, I think, than the cotton yarn. So that's what I wanted, and I knew it would end up being kind of like a worsted-ish weight. I had thought about using Quince & Company Kestrel yarn, but it's really, really expensive, and because I didn't really know how much I needed, it's a bit of a risk when you're using really expensive yarn. So I was browsing on the Skein Sisters, which is a yarn shop in Sydney that I love. They stock a whole bunch of really amazing local and international yarn brands, and they always have just the most amazing stuff in stock. It's really great. So I finally bit the bullet to buy my yarn, because they had a couple of the weekend just after I had my operation, they had for a couple of days, Brooklyn Tweed was on sale, which, as you know, never happens. So I did have some a couple of projects in mind that I wanted to use Brooklyn Tweed yarn for. So I got that, and to kind of get myself over the free shipping threshold, I also picked up some yarn for this project. So I'll show you the yarn first. I had it in my hand. Here it is. So I just bought some Cartier linen. It's called linen, but it's a linen cotton blend in this really pretty color. It's like an olivey green. What do they call it? Sage. That's pretty. So the yarn is 53% cotton and 47% linen. And that's actually a pretty good, pretty accurate color representation. It's this really pretty light olivey green. So I am using this, I'm holding this double to create kind of a slightly over worsted weight yarn. And so what I'm doing for the pattern, which I realize I've been waffling on and not actually told you, is I'm taking the chart, the Christmas tree chart from the Andy Sutherland pattern, and then transposing that onto a kind of a V-neck linen tank top, the outline of which is I'm using words are not coming today. About 18 months ago, Karen Templer of the Fringe Association did this knit along for a kind of it's not really like a self-drafted, but it's it's called the Sloper. It's kind of a pattern, but it's more kind of like an outline of a pattern. That I actually did knit one, a cotton turtleneck tank top that I really like. I knit it in a really pretty brown colour. So I'm using kind of the outline and the specs from that tank top and popping the chart for the Christmas tree on the front. I really should have thought about how to explain this better, but I'll just keep talking until it comes out. So I did a swatch, which I never do, but I did a swatch, worked out what my gauge was, how many stitches, and I actually kind of ended up using the stitch count that I used for the this tank top, the beach tank, because my gauge was not dissimilar to this. So I kind of used the stitch count from the beach tank and then worked out that what exactly I wanted. So I'm going to do like a little ribbed hem. It'll be a slightly, ever so slightly A-line, and I'm knitting the tank top in pieces to seam it because it is in reverse stockinette so that you get the nice effect of the Christmas tree. So I have cast it on and I have done the hem for the front. So this is what it looks like so far. I've just got those stitch markers for where the chart will be, and that's kind of what, can you see? There we go. That's kind of what the linen yarn held double kind of looks like. It's a really nice effect. It's a nice colour. It's kind of like subtly green, but it's also kind of neutral, so it's not too Christmassy. I'm not the most Christmassy person, but I really, just this year, I really felt like I wanted to have a nice Christmassy garment. So it doesn't look very Christmassy at the moment. It's just a little bit of rib. I'm using 6mm needles. I think I did 5.5mm needles for the ribbing. And yeah, hopefully I'll have some more progress to show you with that one. But I'm not really the kind of person to modify patterns or make up my own patterns. I'm definitely not any sort of pattern designer. I really like a pattern. I like being told what to do when I'm knitting, so kind of forcing myself to think about what I'm doing and draft something by myself is a good exercise for my brain and just something fun to do that's a little bit different to normal, because yes, I'm definitely not a designer and definitely not someone who modifies patterns. Like, I really admire people who they'll say, oh yeah, I was knitting this pattern, but I just decided to do the sleeves completely differently. Like, that's definitely not something that I would do, that is in my comfort zone at all. I don't know if it's other people are more experienced or just have that slightly more gung-ho attitude to craft, but I definitely enjoy a nice doing what I'm told in the pattern. But yeah, the other thing about this actually that I wanted to talk about was I taught myself a new cast on. So I'm a big fan of long tail cast on, particularly if you're doing 2x2 rib. I think it's a really nice way to get a nice even cast on, but the long tail part is often the problem. When you end having to guess how long the long tail has to be before you cast on is always a gamble, and I always end up with a giant tail, which is just annoying. But there is this really awesome tutorial on Coco Knits on their website. I think I saw it maybe on, I saw it on someone's Instagram story and I don't remember who, but they showed a link to this tutorial and it is really cool. So it's just a long tail cast on, but you use two pieces of yarn. So you're working from 2 balls, so you don't have to guess how long the end has to be. I'll put a link to the tutorial below because it was just absolutely life-changing for me, because the guessing for the, and is there anything more frustrating when you have like a 200 stitch cast on, you get to like stitch 192 and run out of yarn? The worst. And so what I actually did, and I'm really happy with how it turned out because I wasn't sure how it would turn out. Because I'm holding this yarn double, what I did was I just did the cast on with just 2 ends of yarn. So I have them both here. So I just kind of did the cast on, holding the 2 like that, and then just knit them together. And I wasn't sure if that first row was going to look a bit funny because the cast on was with kind of half the width of yarn. But it actually worked really well. I was worried it might be a little bit gappy, but no, it's not. Took a gamble and it really worked. So I will link that tutorial below because I will be using it forever and a day now. Because yeah, it's just brilliant, and very, very clever person that came up with that. I'm not sure who, but that the Coco Knits tutorial is really clear and nice, beautiful photos, really easy to follow. So the last thing that I have to talk with you about today, I don't really have any current crushes at the moment. Most of my knitting brain has been taken up with the Christmas tank top, but I do have something I wanted to share with you, partly inspired by the release this week of Ariana Grande's new single, Thank You Next, which I did post in my Instagram stories. Really represents my attitude towards kind of frogged and failed projects. Some teach you love, some teach you patience, and some cause you pain. So I actually have some project fails to share with you today. Earlier this year I really didn't have very many finished objects because I spent a lot of time working on these 2 individual socks. They're from different patterns, but there's 2 individual socks that I kind of made the entire first sock, like bound it off, woven my ends, and they just don't work. And they've kind of just been sitting in a basket in my room for about 6 months because I couldn't look at them. I was just so annoyed and frustrated. You know, you spend so much time knitting something and it fails. It's not a great feeling. And normally I'm pretty careful, like with fit and things. I try things on obsessively as I knit them, with getting the right fibre for the right project. I really think about it. As I've said, I think in my first episode, I haven't really talked about it, but I don't really have a stash. Like I really am a project-specific yarn purchaser. So everything that goes into a project for me is really, really thought through. So it's very rare that I get to the stage of an almost, or like a sock, a finished sock, and it's a total fail. None of this is an indictment on the pattern, the designer, the yarn. It's just completely user error. So the first one I have, let me just pop it on a sock blocker so you can have a better look. This pattern was from, I think it was from issue 20 of Pom Pom Quarterly magazine. I'll have it linked down below, as with everything. It's by Rachel. It's Rachel Coopy, isn't it? The Coops Knits lady. It's definitely Rachel, and I think it's Coopy. It's called the Festoon Socks. And I have a sock. I love this pattern. It's really cool. It has this really cute little cable detail on one side, and then on the other side it's just a really cute rib. So the socks, when you make a pair, are mirror image, so you can wear them with the cables on the outside and the cozy rib on the inside. Really cool pattern, really fun to do. I actually did really enjoy the process of knitting this. The yarn is a terrible choice. It's really pretty. It's coming out not quite as vibrant on the camera. It's a little more pastel on the camera than it is in real life, but it's really pretty peachy tone of, I'm pretty sure it's like shepherd baby merino. So it's super soft commercial merino, which is not the smartest yarn to make socks out of. It's a really pretty color. It's really affordable, but it's just not right. And this sock is just way too big for me. I think I knit, there's like 3 sizes, and then I think I knit the middle size, which technically, had I been using my brain, would have been the right size. So the pattern is actually designed to knit with Coop Knits, the Soxier sock yarn from Fiber Spates, which is actually quite it's on the lighter side of a sock yarn. I'd say it's kind of more like a light fingering to a fingering. Ugh, I hate saying that. It's a lighter sock yarn. So something that's then like a nice, like soft, squishy, puffy baby merino is going to be slightly thicker than that yarn. So it's just going to come up too big. And I mean, this is just, it really, like, it's just too big around like the heel and ankle for me. And with this yarn, it's just not going to, it's not going to bounce back. It's not going to be a wearable sock. So I'm not going to, and I haven't ripped it out. I don't know why I haven't ripped it out. I just can't yet. I'll get to that stage eventually, and I'll probably then repurpose. I would love to have these socks. Probably repurpose this yarn for like baby knits or something, because this peachy tone is a nice kind of non-specific baby color, just a nice pastel, so you can make it kind of for any baby. And that'll be what that yarn does. I would love to knit this again because I love this sock. I think the design is really clever with the cable and the rib. I just think it's really cool. I'm sorry that this video is kind of a little bit choppy. Life isn't really conspiring with me sitting still for more than 15 minutes to record. But the second sock that I have to talk about has kind of the opposite problem of that first one, where it's just too dang small. It's a really, really adorable pattern, and I love it so much. It's by my beloved Claire Mountain of Sister Mountain. This is her Bronte sock pattern, and it's so cool. It has this really cool zigzag pattern that goes kind of all the way down the front. You can see it there. It's just a really, really, really beautiful pattern. The zigzag effect is just achieved with knits and pearls and slip stitches. It's really fun. It's really pretty. But if you look, that's really tiny, and because it's like a slip stitch zigzaggy pattern, not very stretchy. This is quite a fine sock yarn. It's actually the yarn that you're supposed to use for the festoon socks. It's the Soxier by Fiber Spates, which is quite fine. And these are a toe-up sock, so I really don't know how it got to this stage, being so tiny, because I would have been trying it on as I go. The foot's like slightly too short, and the leg, I mean, that is just not going to go around anyone's leg, and it's all my own fault. It's a really gorgeous pattern that I would love to knit, and I actually have, I think, some yarn that I want to use to knit a proper version of these. But yeah, got to the end, bound it off. But I think it's looking pretty creasy, so I think I even blocked it. I think probably what I did was I tried to get it onto the sock blocker to try and stretch it out. Yeah, I mean, it's a cozy struggle just to get it onto the sock blocker. So as you can see, it's lovely, and I love it, and it looks really pretty in this color, but it's just too small. So yeah, I've been really furious at both of these socks. They've been just sitting in a basket, and I can't even look at them. I will finally, I think, get to the stage where I can kind of summon my courage and just rip them out so I can reuse the yarn. I have plenty more like another sock's worth almost. So I could knit another pair of socks out of both of them. As I said, probably use these, actually might use these for the festoon socks. I have some other yarn that I think I'm going to use for the Bronte sock, and then use this peachy yarn for some baby knits. But I just wanted to quickly talk about that, because I think sometimes, yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone is really confident and gung-ho and goes in and gets perfect projects every time, but that's just not how it is. I mean, all of us make mistakes. I think no matter how long you've been knitting, or how short a time you've been knitting, you're going to have wins and losses, and this is kind of a massive fail for me. So I just wanted to talk about it. If you have any huge knitting fails, where you kind of got a significant way through a project and realized that the fibre was wrong, or you picked the wrong size, or it was just not what you envisioned, let me know down below, because we can all commiserate with each other, because it is frustrating when you've spent tens, dozens of hours knitting on something and you kind of don't have anything to show for it. I mean, I do enjoy the process of knitting, so I could kind of just knit anything forever, but when you are anticipating having a wearable garment or a functional object and that doesn't happen, it's just frustrating. But we've all been there. It's, you know, you always learn something from every experience, and the great thing about knitting is it's never forever. You can always unravel it and use that yarn for something else. Yeah, it's never a done deal. You can always go back and fix it, and that's, I think, one of the really great things about fibre arts and knitting in particular, is that it's never over. There's always got a chance to go back and fix it and make it better. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Let me know down below any knitting fails that you have, or just offer me some commiserations for my lost socks. If you have any other questions or thoughts or anything, please feel free to leave them below, or come and say hi to me on Instagram or Ravelry. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me today. I hope, like, heading into a weekend, I hope you have a fun, relaxing weekend ahead with plenty of craft time, and I wish you all the best. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks for a new episode, but until then, see you later. Bye.